If you know the struggle of wanting to have nice hair but not really knowing what fits you and not having enough money to always go to the barber shop, this video is gold for you. I will tell you how to save money. I'll give you a step-by-step guide to figuring out a style that fits you, and at the end I will tell you a bonus tip on how to actually know if your style looks good, because for me I was always unaware of that, so stick around to see that bonus tip. So let's get straight to the point. If you want to save money, get a friend that cuts hair already and let him cut your hair. I know that getting a friend to cut hair is very generic advice, but you probably have some friends who cut other people's hair. So go and ask them if they can do it for you. If you don't know anybody, just ask someone in your class or at uni, because some are actually glad they can cut hair. And of course, these people will not be professional barbers, but some actually know how to do a nice fade. I'll get to that later, but nice fade is basically the epitome of a good haircut. So getting someone to cut your hair that you know is sort of like an investment as well, because if you let your friend cut your hair multiple times, you will get a lot better at it, so your hair will look better with the time as well. I'd love to tell you to just cut your hair on your own and that it's easy, but it's simply not. I tried to cut my hair by myself and the top came out fine, but the sides were just terrible. I did it way too short and it did not work out well. It's grown out a bit now, but it really looked terrible, and also it was also asymmetrical, etc. So don't try to cut your own hair if you're not an expert at it. I find it to be really hard. There's a reason barbers are paid, because hair makes up a lot of your looks and it's not an easy thing to cut. Okay, so if you don't know anybody who cuts hair, then do it like this. Get a good friend and start cutting each other's hair. First of all, you're not alone, so you can give each other tips and you will get better with every cut. It won't be perfect immediately, that's just unrealistic, but I'd say it takes about 2 or 3 times cutting hair to learn how to do a nice fade. And it's especially easier if you do it on the same person every time. So this is the only thing you really need to learn, is cutting a nice fade. So do that if you also want to help your bro out and even learn an extra skill as well. Then you can maybe become that guy in your class who can cut hair, and possibly you could even charge for haircuts in the future. Now let's get to the step-by-step guide to figuring out your hairstyle that fits you. I'd love to tell you that there's some face shape stuff that you can just look online, but this generally doesn't really work because faces are very, very unique. So you can't even really see if you have an oval or something. So that doesn't really work. You want to start by just getting a buzz cut if you haven't ever tried it, but I'd recommend just buzzing down your hair. And with your hair growing out, try out more different hairstyles. For example, something like I have right now, a bit messy. I know it does look perfect right now. I don't really have it styled. You can also do a side part. This looks not good on me, so I don't really have pictures for that. Also a middle part with shorter hair, kind of like this Leonardo DiCaprio look, or just with longer hair. And of course, if your buzz cut looks nice, just stick to that. For me, it doesn't look terrible, but I can show you a picture. It looks fine, but not good, at least compared to my other hairstyles, so I can't stick to that. But if you can stick to a buzz cut and it looks good on you, I'd really recommend just doing that, because it makes you look more masculine and it's easy to cut, and it's just also really really nice because you don't have to wash as much hair. I think if a buzz cut suits you, then go for that 100%. So before you try out these different hairstyles, I want you to get 2 hair products at least. So one sort of wax-like product and one gel. So wax or maybe clay is nice for adding texture. So for something like a messy fringe, it's nice. So what I have in my hair right now is, I think, something like clay. So, you know, it's not as flat. It gives your hair texture. And gel makes your hair look a bit wet, and it also makes it harder. And this is really nice for a middle part. I used gel for my middle part and I think it worked really great. I know it's hard how to exactly style your hair for it to look good. I just did that through trial and error. I'd love to tell you that you can just do it the first time, 5 minutes, but that's simply not true. At the beginning, you're in the bathroom for like half an hour, but you learn it fairly quickly. But like I said, it's not something you instantly can do. Of course, you can watch some YouTube tutorials by it. I've watched some, but they haven't really helped. The only thing that helped me was just trying out different things. For example, using a towel or rubbing my head on a sofa or whatever to, you know, to give it texture, etc. So that's just things you have to try out. I'd say realistically it takes like a week to get good at doing this certain hairstyle. But of course, this depends on the hairstyle you're doing. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't work instantly. Maybe just try it for a few more days and see if you can actually pull it off. I want you to do this with every single hairstyle you try so that you get used to it, but you also know if it actually looks good, which I'll get to soon how to do that. Then if you figured out your style, your hairstyle, for example, messy, fringe, middle part, whatever the names are, the most important thing is to get a fade. And I like a taper fade a lot, but you can try a low taper, high, or just not a taper, high fade, just, somewhere here. Doesn't really suit me, so I just go for a taper. Get a fade that fits you the most, and then go cut your hair like every 2 weeks or so. I touched on this earlier, but just get your friends to cut you a taper like every 2 weeks so it always looks fresh and clean. It's very little effort and no cost if you do it like that. So I think you don't want to go to the barber every 2 weeks, but that way the fade, which grows out really quickly, always looks nice. Generally speaking, a good hairstyle is well kept, so a nice fade, high or low, is actually more important than the actual style. A friend of mine once gave me a good taper fade, and even though my hairstyle, the front looked quite bad, my hair overall actually looked really good just because of the fade. With style, like I said, you can just try out different ones and you could ask friends for feedback, and some of them are probably honest. However, the best way to tell if your hairstyle is nice is by just wearing it for a few days to school. If your school friends don't say anything at first, it's normal, but just stick to the hairstyle for some time, like a week. If they see that you stick with the hairstyle, then some of them will tell you that it looks good. If it does, of course. I, for example, tried a middle part randomly in the mirror after showering, and I was always against middle parts. I don't know exactly why, but I thought they were boring. So many people were. I thought this was like this cringe TikTok hair. But I realized it looked kind of nice on me. It gave me this Leonardo DiCaprio vibe, which I really liked. I got a bit reluctant and was nervous at first, but I just started like that for school, and of course people noticed. I haven't really changed my hairstyle before that very often. I've always had some kind of messy thing going on. Sometimes it looked terrible, sometimes it looked good. So at first some people were a bit skeptic, not really deep, but probably also because I never really liked middle parts and they knew that. It was never something like it looked bad, but just because it was something new, I feel like. Then at a school event where we were in a room as like 7 people, including 2 girls, I don't know if that's relevant to the story, I'm just gonna tell it anyways. A friend of mine said my hair looked low-key sick, in his words. I think something like that, he said that. And that made me really happy, of course, and gave me confidence. But it also goes to show how people, and maybe it's more common with boys, but they don't just straight up tell you how it looks or something. It may take some time for someone to say something, even if they say something at all. With boys in general, I think that if nobody makes fun of your hairstyle or says it looks trash, then generally it should not be too bad. Because boys will always tell you when something is shit, but rarely when it's good. I guess that's just how we are, and I'm fine with that, that's okay. So wear the hairstyle for an extended period of time and be very aware of the reactions from your mates. But be careful here. Don't listen to it if some guy says it looks good. Because if that guy is just a yes man and compliments everybody all the time, then he's not honest, and that's not true. Specifically look for people who openly criticize others and are really honest, and see how they react to your hair. My friend, for example, the one who told me my hair looked really sick, I know he's a really honest guy. I knew that if he thought it would look shit, then he would really say it. He would say to me that, I don't think that looks good. He'd make fun of it. But I know he's a really honest guy, so I knew that his compliment was genuine. If it looked bad, he would not have said that it looks good, especially not if I did not ask for any feedback. He didn't say this responding to me asking him how it looked. He just said that randomly. So that's also a plus. If somebody just randomly compliments you on something, then it's way better than you just asking for feedback. So just try to see how honest people react. And this will give you a good idea of if your hairstyle looks good. But of course, you can just see it for yourself. If you're a bit unaware like me, then just you can just look for how people react. So to summarize, to save money, just get some friends together, or get one friend cut each other's hair, or get someone you know to cut your hair who already knows how to do it. The most important thing is get some sort of fade and then try out different styles. Use products like wax, gel, clay to try out, try out middle parts, flat hairstyles, side parts, fringe, messy stuff, textured fringe, whatever. Then just get good at styling your haircut, which can take some time, maybe a week, maybe even 2 weeks. But don't be discouraged if you aren't able to pull it off instantly. Then just stick to your haircut that suits you best. Get a fade and get some friends to cut it like every 2 weeks or every month so it always looks clean and fresh and new. I think this is really important with fades. I already said this, I know, but I think I should repeat this because it's just really true. Hairstyle is mostly just the sides. If the sides look good, which in my case is not really true right now, because I cut them too short and the proportions aren't right now. If the sides look good, then generally your haircut cannot look really bad. Then just see how your friends react to your hairstyle, wear it for multiple days, not only once. See how these honest, critical people react to your hairstyle. But only do this if you are unsure of whether your hair looks good, because if you know it looks good, then you don't really have to ask for advice, or have to ask for feedback, or have to wait for feedback. If you know it looks nice, then, of course you don't have to ask anybody. But if, similar to my case, some friend just randomly tells you it looks good, then go for that hairstyle, because people will notice, and if they say something without you asking them, that's a really good sign. So just go and wear that style. My hair always looked a bit weird, and I never really styled it until just recently. I started, trying out different things, like a year or two ago. Hairstyling is not that hard, it's not really that complicated. You just have to try out some different things. And if you can do that, you're on a good path. You don't have to worry about these weird YouTube videos say about styling different hairstyles. Most of the time, they don't work. Just try out things for yourself. Of course, you can get inspiration from how something looks or different styles, but I think tutorials on styling hair or cutting hair, they don't really work. Generally, they are not really good because every hair is very unique. The texture, the thickness of the hair. So just try it out for yourself. I hope you can get some friends to cut your hair or learn how to cut hair because it's really fun. And I hope you can bond with your friend even more. And I also hope I can see you in the future, maybe in another video I made. And I hope this video helped you a lot going forward in your journey. With that said, I wish you an awesome day and take care.